This was about 3 years ago during a school holiday. Me and my friend were hanging out at a park near our houses. It was getting close to dark out and the area that we live in isn't the safest after dark, so we decided to start walking back to her house. We were walking along the road to avoid going through the underpasses when we both noticed a weird feeling of being watched. We looked around, but apart from a couple of cars parked on the side of the road, we couldn't see anyone, so we shrugged it off and kept walking. But the feeling didn't go away, even though every time we turned around the only thing we could see were a few cars. We kept this up for another couple minutes until my friend turned to me and said, "That silver car has been parked on every street so far." We decided that the best way to prove this was to sprint to the end of the street where there was a blind corner and hide to see if the car went past us. So we ran and hid behind a low wall in someone's front yard, and sure enough, that same silver car came around the corner at a slow crawl with its headlights off, keeping way too close to the curb. As we watched, it stopped right in front of our hiding spot and we thought it must have seen us, so we kept as still as we could. Eventually whoever was in the car seemed to decide that we were gone because the headlights of the car turned on and it sped off down the road. My friend and I sprinted back to her house and spent a sleepless night watching the windows. We never saw that car again, but whenever I'm walking alone I make sure to check behind me every corner just in case. It was just an ordinary day in Grand Theft Auto Online, or so I thought. I load in 10 minutes after originally starting up the game, since we all know how long that takes. I was going to do some Doomsday Hazard preps, since I just recently purchased the Route 61 facility that was also 500 feet away from my clubhouse. I went into my garage to use my hot knife to drive there. I drove into my facility, not knowing how much of a mistake that'd be later. I got out of the hot knife and started walking to the huge planning room. I say hi to both of my assistants, then I proceed. Pretty normal. I load up a prep and proceed to do it. I finish the prep and I drive the Deluxo onto the lift to go down into the facility. I drove onto it and nothing happened. So I thought, okay, maybe it's just glitching out. I decide to wait on the lift and go on my phone onto Wars Talk. I bought a buzzard that was soon delivered to my hangar. As I was still browsing, the lift finally started to descend, although something was a bit off. I lower into the facility as the lights continuously flicker on and off. This goes on for a few seconds, then everything goes black. Even my room in real life. I couldn't see anything. Not the controller or the television or my lamp. The lights come back on and I was in a totally different place. I look around only to see that I'm somehow in my facility in real life. Really strange. This must be a hallucination, I thought. I tried blinking several times to clear my head, but I was still there. I was shocked that this was happening. I couldn't wrap my head around it. It was like I was playing a virtual reality version of GTA Online without a headset. As I calm myself down a bit, I decide to go and explore and try to figure out what's happening. As I explore all the nooks and crannies of the place, I hear a loud bang. It came from the receptionist's desks. I reluctantly walk over to find out what that noise was, and I see my assistants on the floor. Blood everywhere. Holes in both of their heads. I hurry over to the security room in hopes that I find something on the security cameras. I look through them, and as soon as the bang happened, the camera cuts to black, only to return with the gruesome scene that I witnessed a minute ago. I freeze in my place as I realize that there is a killer in my facility. I head to the hot knife so I can escape. I get in it and drive onto the platform. I stop and use the keypad to make the platform rise. Before I get done using the keypad, the lights cut out again, this time for the duration of a blink. They come back on and I see someone in a hockey mask standing in front of me with a combat pistol. They were aiming right at me. I didn't say a word and just slowly got into my car and waited for the platform to rise. I had a clever idea come to my head. I'll reach for my gun and shoot him quickly. So I reached down without him noticing and quickly aimed the gun and fire through the windshield at the same time. I shot him about 7 times until he fell down and off the platform. At that time, it started to rise to the surface. I quickly get out of the car and run to the side. There was blood on the floor but no body. I get back into the car and decide to head to the Sandy Shores Police Department. I've played GTA a lot, so I pretty much know my way around the map. It was honestly so surreal to see the map in person and interact with it. But also kind of uncanny. As I'm driving, I notice something in my rear view mirror. A large fire coming from Liquor Ace. That dumbass Trevor must have screwed up making meth. I scoff and just ignore it, heading down the highway at 87.3 miles per hour. I slow down as I approach the police department and I pull into an empty parking spot. I calmly walk over to an officer so I don't startle him. He sees me and says, "Hey, Alpha. How are you?" He called me by my online name, and I didn't know this guy personally since this was a video game. I said, "Look, there's this guy in my lot that I believe murdered 2 people and was trying to murder me too." He said, "Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. I'll look into that." I didn't bother saying anything and I just turned away. Before I went through the doors, this older cop pulled me aside. "Did this guy happen to be your height with a hockey mask?" I hesitantly said yes. "Why?" "That is nothing but very bad news for you," he said. He told me a story about a guy who was wrongly killed by someone using an oppressor and he was out to seek revenge on the citizens of Los Santos and Blaine County. He also told me that if I hear an oppressor, to just hide somewhere immediately. He didn't explain why. I leave the police station. For some reason, I decided to look back. There was nobody in there. Impossible, I thought. I literally just left there. And there were several cops in there. I noticed something in the reflection of the door, however. A bright orange light. I turn around, only to see that the sky is a vivid, fiery orange color. It wasn't like this when I walked in the station. I stood there, frozen, wondering what was going on. Wondering if I finally lost my shit. And then I hear it. A low hum. A low hum that was slowly getting louder and more high-pitched. I couldn't pinpoint where it was coming from. But then I realized what it was. It was the hum of an oppressor. Not just any normal oppressor, mind you. The oppressor I was warned about.